About a year ago, I got my private pilot certificate, and it took me like 2 months, about 2 months of really grinding away at it. So I wanted to talk about how I got my private pilot cert in 2 months and kind of how you can do it too, and the mindset I had going into it, and all the events leading up to it, because the training itself I think is really important, but it's also the moments leading up to, starting training. Let's let this person go first. I'm on my way to Dallas. I was just at the training center earlier. If you're new here, my name is Joseph. Right now I'm in CFI. I have my check ride scheduled for Monday, which is in about 5 days. So, feeling the effects of that, and studying a lot, maybe a little too much. I should also be resting, because at this point I know what I know. 5 days until your check ride, you should have an idea of what's going to be asked, maybe some of the trick questions leading up to the actual check ride. But so yeah, when it comes to the actual training, I went into it with zero time, so I didn't know anything about aviation. I had done some research before starting the school, and it's an accelerated program, so they pretty much have everything lined out. You either dedicate all your time to it, meaning you don't have a side job, or if you do have a side job, it's very minimal. It's either you dedicate all your time or you pick a different school. And my program is a Part 61, so my school was in the middle of converting everyone from 61 to 141, but I was some of the last people to do the 61 program, which I'm very thankful, because the Part 61 is unstructured, meaning it's a lot of your self-guided study. You're kind of on your own, but I prefer that because you can study as much as you want and take the check ride basically, when you're proficient, or I guess when the instructor thinks you're proficient, or that you could pass. But that means you could double fly if you want. So maybe you have 2 days of really bad weather and you study a lot, and then it comes down to a couple good days of really clear weather. Well, you could double fly if you want to. I mean, one block, meaning one time you kind of check the plane out or whatever. You go up with an instructor. That's called a block. You take off, do whatever you do, your training, and then you come back. That's a block. And it's typically like 2 hours. You get 2 hours with your instructor, sometimes 3, but usually what I see is like 2 hours. That's a good amount of time to go out and do training, and usually you get kind of fatigued, get tired. Anything past 2 hours can be hard, especially for a new student, because there's a lot going on in the airplane. If you haven't started flight training, or maybe you have, you'll notice that when you do the flight, you go up for 2 hours, you get back and you want to study, or you're just mentally tired, you're mentally checked out. But so I did a lot of double flying, and it takes a lot of stamina. You really have to build up that stamina. I wasn't doing it the first week. It was maybe a few weeks into it, I tried double flying for the first time, and it's hard. Flying for 4 hours a day is not easy. I mean, there was a break in between. It wasn't just 4 straight hours. But yeah, it's not easy, but I did that a lot during the private stage. Double flew, was studying a lot at the training center from sun up to sundown. I had a decent friend group that I could study with, and a bunch of very smart people. We all kind of picked each other up, and we studied a lot together. I feel like it's really important, especially if you want to get your training done fast, to find a group. And even if it's not at your school, find a community near you. Maybe it's a flight club, or you go sit at the FBO or a Facebook group. I don't know. Find something to where you could study with people, even if it's over Zoom, and you meet someone through a Facebook group and you guys study together, or do a ground online. Whatever it is, that really helped me succeed and get my private pilot cert in 2 months. But another thing that really was helpful, I did my written test. I did my written test before I even started flight training. And that was super helpful, because trying to study for that while you're going to flight training, while you're flying, you're doing the ground knowledge, because the ground knowledge, I would argue, is different from your written test. The written test is all about rote memorization. It's really difficult to study for the written test and understand the questions. I've been mentored by a few people where the written tests are all about memorization. The stuff you really understand about flying and your ground knowledge should come from your grounds with your instructor, studying on your own, reading the handbooks. It's really difficult to obtain knowledge from the written test, and it's going to take you forever to even accomplish the written test, because how many questions are there? 700 or whatever. If you're going through 700 questions and trying to understand every single one of them, it's going to take you a good amount of time. There were some questions where I'd spend 30 minutes just trying to figure out how to even do the darn math questions. But I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm really just going to trust what people say, and I'm going to memorize this stuff, and whatever it took to memorize the questions, whether it was like, oh, this question has 4 ones in the first sentence, the answer is this. Or, left to right, the answer is this. Or the first word is this. So just whatever you can, whatever type of flow you want to have, really just memorize the questions and go and take it. I think I scored an 88 on my private test, which is good. It's passing, and I think it's more than passing. I've had a lot of DPs say, hey, why'd you try so hard? Oh, my private DP, he was like, why'd you try so hard on your written test? And I was like, what do you mean? And he goes, well, the perfect score is actually a 70. A 70 is passing. And I was like, well, why is that? Wouldn't you think I'm a better pilot have a better understanding of the ground knowledge if I can, score better on the test? And he said, well, no, it's actually in the ground to oral. If you score a 70, they have to go over the missed codes. So each missed question that you get wrong, there's a code attached to it. And so there's an airman certification standard, which is a booklet of everything that the DPE could possibly test you on. So if you miss a question, that code is associated with a certain topic in the ACS. And so when you go into your check ride, you give them all of these missed codes, and they have to go through every code and find the topic and quiz you on it. And so when you go into a normal check ride, they can ask whatever they want. The DPE kind of has their own flow of how they do these tests. Whereas if you score a 70, going over all those missed codes, it's going to take a decent amount of time, maybe 2 hours, 2.5 hours, which that's usually about how long the actual check ride oral takes. So if you get a 70 and it takes 2.5 hours, well, you know what the oral is going to be on. Basically the whole ground test, and you could just study those missed codes, because that's going to take up basically all the time. And then again on my my instrument check ride, that DP asked me, okay, well, I think I got a 91 or whatever on my instrument written. It's like, well, why'd you anyways. But just the point being is just pass the test. the airlines aren't going to look at your written test and be like, oh, he scored 75. He's not good enough to get into our airline. I've never heard of any airline asking about the written test. And I know a decent amount of people, and a lot of people in the airlines have mentored me, senior captains in American. I know some from Southwest, director of new hires. It's just common advice across the board. Just get in, take that written test before you start. That way you can dedicate your time to studying the ground knowledge, getting the flights done, possibly double flying and not having to worry, oh, do I have enough time to actually go take this test? It's completely out of the way. And what I really wish I had done is before I started my flight training, I took that private test, but I didn't take any of the other ones. There's like 5 written tests that you have to take if you want to become an instructor. You have the FOI, FIA. There's a decent amount of written tests. I wish I had done those before I even started the program, and that was what a lot of people recommended to me. And there was probably a 3 or 4 month wait time before I could start flight training. So I kind of sat around and didn't really do anything. And my excuse was, oh, I'm just going to kind of relax because I know flight training is going to be pretty intense from what I've heard. So I'm just going to do the private written test and that'll be good. But I really regretted not actually taking the other tests, because when I got to instrument, I did my instrument in 30 days. That's a lot of flying right there. And having to study the instrument written test, that was not easy. And then I also took the flight instructor instrument test, the double I. So I had to take 2 written tests within 30 days while studying all new material, and instruments, a whole different language to begin with. So I would definitely recommend taking those written tests before you actually start your flight training. And that'll just set you ahead, And it's not like you don't learn anything. You'll walk away with some knowledge, and you'll just be that much further ahead than everyone else. And my school required me to take the PAR, the private written test, before I even started. So I think I had to have that done 30 days before I started my flight training, or else I don't think I would have been kicked out, but definitely would have pushed me back. So yeah, double flying, really just showing up every day, even the weekends, and then making sure you're getting enough rest. That's another big one that I'm in CFI right now. I've been in CFI for about a month and a half. And the rest part is getting enough sleep is not easy when you have all of this on your shoulders, the check ride. There's a lot of responsibility, and getting studying in, it's not easy. And it seems like, okay, well, if you show up from 8 a.m. and you go home at 5 p.m., isn't that plenty of time to study? But it's really not. I mean, you can only do so much. You only have so many hours in the day that's productive. And even if you're there for that long and studying for that long, you're not taking in all that information on the first shot. You have to go over it multiple times. So thankfully I have a good group to go over that with. But getting enough rest, eating properly. I have a bad habit of getting Chick-fil-A. I got Chick-fil-A yesterday, and I usually get a chicken sandwich and some fries. And I just picked it up to go and took it home, and turned out they gave me the wrong order. They gave me a salad and 2 packs of chicken nuggets. And actually, I felt pretty good. I ate the salad. It's basically a chicken salad. And that might be my new order, because I think it made me feel good. That you get the chicken sandwich and the medium fry, and you just kind of feel sluggish afterwards. It tastes good, don't get me wrong, it tastes amazing, but not the healthiest. So if you're gonna eat out, like it happens, but maybe get Chipotle or I don't know, I get Salad and Go. Those burritos, they're huge, and they're only like $7.50 for a steak burrito. But yeah, eating healthy, staying mentally sharp. I think sleep, eating healthy, good habits, it all continue, or it all overflows and spills into your flight training. And I can tell, if I have a night off and don't go to sleep early, or maybe I play video games or don't eat healthy, I feel it the next day. I feel it in my productivity, and I definitely feel it in the afternoon when that kicks around. I get really tired, maybe an extra energy drink. Been in a bad habit of having a bunch of energy drinks throughout the day. Well, I'll have one, but then I also get these Celsius packets that I put in my water. It's got probably the same amount of caffeine and just a regular energy drink. It's probably not the best. And then a cup of coffee in the afternoon. But yeah, it's doable to get your private pilot certification in what is that, 60 days, 2 months. It takes a lot of work, and it's going to be very tiring. There are going to be some days where you don't want to fly, and that's fine. Don't force it. Just know, lay it out, the hour requirement. I did my private pilot cert in 87 hours, I think it was, 85. So I flew a decent amount, and I could have done it in probably 65 hours. I think that's fair to say. I was ready. I think I was more than ready. I picked up on flying really fast, but my program, the outline was 87 hours, and they just wanted me to get even more hours, because once you get to your commercial, it requires 250 hours, which you can actually use 50 hours out of AATD, which is like an approved simulator. You could use 50 hours, so that would leave you with 200 flight hours you need for commercial. So they really just get you the extra hours in private, and it's never bad to have extra flight hours. Like I've had some people ask me, I'm at 100 hours, or I'm flying this many hours. Is that bad? And, I mean, everyone has their own timeline. I think if you're at 100 hours and you've practiced a lot landing and you still can't get the hang of it, maybe that's a sign. It's not necessarily you. Maybe it's your instructor, or maybe if you're struggling with something, you can't get the concept, then yeah, maybe request a new instructor. I've had to do that. Not necessarily where I was struggling in the sense of the instructor wasn't teaching me well, but if you're not getting what you need out of the instructor and you don't feel like you two work well together, it doesn't mean that you don't like the instructor as a person. Like, you guys could be really good friends, but maybe that's the problem. Maybe you're too good of friends and you need someone that's going to push you more. Whatever it is, like it's definitely possible to get your private in 2 months, and that's basically all I had to talk about. But yeah, 2 months, and then maybe in the next video, if you guys, I don't know what you guys want, just leave a comment if you stuck around this long. If you want a video on any specific topic, but maybe I'll talk about my instrument training next, because that was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed flying in clouds, and the whole instrument. I mean, that's a whole different way of flying. It's kind of a taste in what it's going to be like in the airlines. You really feel like a pilot when you're doing instrument, getting the craft clearances, shooting approaches. I think that's the coolest, most technical thing. But anyways, hope you guys enjoyed this. Hope it was informational, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one.